Welcome to the Strategy Mob Podcast. Tune in for everything you need to know to stay in the know regarding the automotive industry. Here's your host, Jason Harris.
Hey, what's going on, Podcast Nation? It is Jason Harris here with Digital Dealership Solutions. Hey, thanks for joining me on another episode of Coffee with Jason. Today, I have a very special guest, Mr. Mike Murphy from Murphy Auto Group. Mike, thank you so much for taking the time to come jam with me.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for the opportunity to join.
Hey, Mike, for everyone out there that's listening and watching right now and don't know kind of the story of kind of how you got started in the industry and just the last year or so, the tremendous growth that you guys had, if we can kind of get that 2-minute origin story, that is Mr. Mike Murphy, that'll be a great place for us to start.
Yeah, absolutely. So our family story really is the perfect story of a family coming over, immigrating, and taking advantage of the capitalistic opportunities and our American dream. So my grandparents, 3 out of the 4 came over from Ireland. My grandpa was just a sharecropper, couldn't read or write, ended up eloping with my grandma to Miami, and my dad was born. And my dad played professional baseball with the Dodgers out of high school, and that's what kind of lifted us out of poverty. And as he got hurt, he thought he'd go sell cars for his brother until he figured out what he wanted to do with his life. At 30 years old, he had the opportunity to go run an open point for Ford Lincoln Mercury at Newport Lincoln Mercury in Newport Richey, Florida. So he jumps on this opportunity and then goes, okay, great. So where is it? And he goes, oh, in a retirement community. That's unique. I'm 30 years old, but hey, I'm selling Lincolns and Mercury, so I have a captive audience. I think because of the whole rags to riches side of my dad's story, when I was younger, I was in the entertainment business and then followed his footsteps in professional sports. And at 14 years old, he put me to work. So I started off detailing cars for 2 years. Then when I turned 16, I moved to driving the parts truck and was a front counterman, then a rear counterman. And then in 1999, the Firestone recall occurred, and I ended up being a line tech. So I was doing oil change, tire rotations, punching the clock and earning my stripes there. For those people listening that were ever a technician, they can appreciate your first couple months as a technician, you burn yourself all the time.
Yes.
On mufflers and just stuff.
Cut yourself.
So I've got the scars to prove it. Yeah, cut yourself. My goodness, you're going to know where first aid is within your first week. But then I had an opportunity to write service for 2 years. Really enjoyed that because no one comes to our dealership excited about spending a few $100s in service, which has leaked over into some of my management philosophies as a CEO nowadays. Then I got the opportunity to sell cars. Sold cars until we caught a used car manager stealing. Dad fired him on the spot and says, Mike, you said you know how to desk deals. Time to prove it. So I moved on the desk when I was 18. Had a time of my life. Nothing is more fun in our industry than running a desk. I mean, time flies by. You go, oh, shoot, I haven't ate breakfast. Desk a couple deals, take a couple turns. You look at your watch, you go, oh, man, I forgot to eat lunch.
Yep.
Desk a few more car deals, take a few more turns. Sun sets, you go, where did the day go? So you can stay lean and mean, and it makes, I guess, intermediate fasting quite easy. After that, I ended up going to college. I was the first person in my family to go to college. Like I said, Dad signed out of high school. So my grandma in ailing health kind of demanded it of me. So I went down to South Florida, Miami, had a big time there. Still love the Hurricanes. Finished at Florida Atlantic University. Spent 7 years, got 3 degrees just because I liked South Florida. But that whole time I was a finance director. Excuse me, not a finance director. That'll come later on. I was a used car director, working the auctions predominantly, divesting and acquiring vehicles for, at that point, Dad had 2 Lincoln Mercury stores. While I was in college and saved all my money from entertainment and everything else I was doing, got a heck of a estate planning benefit from Pops. We had the opportunity, the 2 of us, to buy our first toy store in 2004. So acquired that, and I know you don't know the story, and I know I'm getting long-winded, but the good part of it's about to come. I never wanted to get in the car business till I was 30 because I see the commitment it takes. But at 22 years old, my dad got diagnosed with multiple myeloma, which is bone marrow cancer, and they originally gave him 3 years to live. So I moved back to Tampa, started my maturation process. It was obviously accelerated because you just don't know if tomorrow's guaranteed. and he battled. I think that the universe, our creator, is a guy of faith. I'd rather say my creator, but for whatever reason, I believe we were blessed, witnessed our own miracle. He did his part. Doctors did their part. But I became a 23-year-old GSM of our flagship store. And all I knew was the basics and hammered the basics into
Yeah, well, don't say
profitability.
you just know the basics. You grew up in this thing. This was in your blood, you know?
Yeah, but I still was just about pulling the pin and throwing the grenade. We kept it super simple. Um, so at
Something about
24, I ended up kind of, I guess, running off my GM. I think he got tired of me asking questions my dad would historically ask, like, really, a 2-hour lunch or stuff like that. So I became the youngest general manager that I know of in the United States, and I don't know about North America, but I was 24, running a Toyota dealership with 105 employees,
wow.
and just running and gunning. Now, Dad got better, and when he did, we changed the store's name to Miracle Toyota after his miracle.
Oh, now that's cool.
And that's kind of our brand going forward. So 2 out of the 5 stores are Miracle, and it's growing from there. When he got healed and he spent about 4.5 years in complete remission, he made me COO. And then at the end of 2016, he said, I think you can do this thing. Why don't you mail me a check? I'll make you CEO and give you the autonomy needed for the next generation. And at that point, half our employees are already millennials. And either you're green and you're growing on the vine, or you're ripe and you're rotten. And we identified pretty quick this thing called the internet wasn't going away, and we had to reinvent ourselves.
You mean that little tiny thing we call the
Yeah,
internet? Yeah.
I think Al Gore created it.
Anywhere. Wow, man. I mean, that's a story. Wow. I mean, you can't think of more of just an original, just an American, just, starting from nothing, building it up, keeping it family, and, I realize having a family-run business like that, it's where business and family culture almost just kind of intertwine with each other. It's like there's almost not necessarily a separation. I mean, would that be a fair way to say that's kind of how the business operates for you?
Oh, absolutely. First off, it's hard to call it work because we love what we do so much. And even
Good
back
point.
in the hospital days or ER moments when things went bad, or on the golf course, we're always talking business.
Yeah.
Holidays, you just revert back to your passion. We're passionate about what we do. But, I've had a few great mentors in my life. And one of my mentors I recently lost, Chris Reese, used to say, there's no such thing as really work-life balance. It's work-life integration.
I'm actually with you on that 100%, even though I know that's the countercultural, kind of look on it. Everyone is always constantly talking about, like, it's like it's two separate entities. It's like you have to have this identity over here with the family, and then you have to have this identity over here, for your business. I don't actually think that you have to, right? It's, my business and my family are so integrated into it, and it is really something to hear your guys' story and kind of how you guys were always able to integrate all of those efforts together.
Yeah, we believe, multitasking is multi-stupid. So if you try to run a professional life and a personal life, you just now have two things you can screw up at the same time. So when you integrate the two into the same thing, like we personally write down a lot of goals as managers and as business owners, as entrepreneurs. We've got revenue targets, and in our business, 40 phone calls, touch 20 people, 10 are interested in what you have to say, 5 will set an appointment, 3 will show, 1 will buy. We do all that stuff, but in our personal lives, we don't have that same detailed information. And we're wondering why our personal life is suffering while our professional life is blooming. And they think somehow it's because we're out of balance. No, it's just because, in my opinion, we don't take the same amount of focus that we have in business to everything else we do. With extreme focus and clarity comes excellent results. And that can be a diet, a lifestyle change, getting over a vice, stopping smoking, whatever, picking 3 or 4 nights a week to have a cocktail instead of every night. The more clear we are in setting expectations and clarity and defining the roadmap, the more likely we are to be successful. So I know it's a great sidebar, but I really believe that a lot of people are struggling with this.
No,
And
I'm actually 100% with you on that.
there is a fantastic book in the 1 Minute Manager series called The 1 Minute Manager Meets the Monkey.
It's a classic, man. I'm trying to remember when I first remember that. I think I read that book. I was a senior in high school.
Oh, wow. Man, God, I wish I would have.
I think that's what it was. I was a senior in high school, and I think my dad actually gave it to me for a birthday. That's what it was. It was a birthday present. That's right. 1 Minute Manager meets the monkey. Then there was the 1 Minute Manager. There was a few others too, wasn't there?
Yeah, there's like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
The meets the monkey is all about delegation, as you well know. But for
Yep.
the listeners, I think this is why there's such an anomaly, especially in automotive retail, where you get promoted through your own hard work, effort, and results, and then you get a management position where all of a sudden now you're judged on your success and or failure at managing, motivating, and getting results through others.
Well,
And
that kind of goes
big
into our
trouble.
development, right? Like, I mean, as an industry, I think we do a relatively decent job of training on the activities that are required to actually sell a car or service a car. Then when it comes to actually coaching at the individual level and even creating team effort, I mean, literally when it gets to that third level, that team effort level, that's when I really see things fall off, right?
Yeah. Oh, I think it really starts with the art of delegation. You got to
Mm-hmm.
understand how to delegate the problems or the monkeys onto the people's backs that cause the issue. But then there's the insurance side, following up with, giving mile markers along the way. And once we learn the art of delegation, then I think we can add another layer into that of continuing education. And that's what
Yep.
you're talking about. I completely agree. That training side, because breaking news, we all hire our own future problems.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. I like that one a lot. I want to go a little farther into delegation there because I think there's some confusion as far as what delegation means for people, right?
Mhm.
I still think that a lot of people are thinking delegation and they're thinking drill sergeant. And
Oh,
that's not what real delegation kind of is, right? We're delegating through process and through documenting that process, and it's kind of like it's like baseball, right? Everybody's got a role to play. Okay, we need to identify that role and then delegate those responsibilities to that person, and then continue to train and develop them on the role that they've been given.
yeah. And I think a lot of delegation for me personally in Murphy Auto Group starts with the concept of servant leadership.
I like
So
that.
if we can help people achieve their own expectations they have for their job performance, two things. First is it's usually better, greater, more impactful than what we expect that individual to do. But then when we go back and we hold them accountable to their expectations they have for themselves, they are much more likely to achieve them.
Mm.
Have no problem lying to you and lying to me, deceiving us, cheating, stealing. But isn't it funny that people really struggle with lying to themselves, with failing to meet their own expectations?
That's a
So
good
that's
point.
a really fun part. So then you start delegating the actions it takes to help them achieve their own expectations in areas they fell short. I want to sell 20 cars a month. I'm selling
Yep.
16. All right, let's peel the onion back a little bit. If you want to sell 20 and make 10 grand a month, then we need to figure out what's gone wrong for you. Is it not enough touches? Is it not overcoming objections? Is it not enough follow-up, not enough prospecting?
Yeah.
That's where we start
It's that
saying in your
routine.
best interest, delegation is to do the following.
Mm-hmm. The art of a routine is for me in a lot of dealerships, especially with a lot of new salespeople, are kind of gone. I've been in the business for a while, 18 years. Um, I remember when I first got to selling cars, it was all routine. It was like, Jason, here's what you're going to do in the morning. By 10 a.m., this is what you're going to do. By noon, this is what you're going to do. All right. You may or may not have a lunch break, depending if you actually sold a car. So I was at an old school dealership, so that's the way it was.
Lunches for closers.
Right? I told someone that the other day, and they couldn't believe that I was like, no, that didn't happen. I'm like, yes, it did. If you didn't have a deal on the board by noon, you did eat. Like, that was the culture, right? I mean, agree with it or disagree with it. The cool thing that there was an actual culture. May not have been
Yeah,
the best culture, but it was the culture, right? Everybody was working collectively together towards the ultimate same goal and objective, right?
pressure
Um,
makes diamonds.
but what happened? Why is there not? Where did we lose this art of routine? Knowing I'm getting up in the morning, I'm starting this, I'm doing this. It's just I don't know. It's like we're sitting there waiting at the front of the dealership, staring out the window, going, "When are they coming? When are they coming?"
Yeah, what a great, powerful question you ask, and I'm glad you asked it because I really think it's a simple answer. We have become complacent
Mhm.
And we have created in most of our dealerships a reactionary lifestyle.
Mhm.
And if we think of the difference between being proactive and reactive, and the difference between being productive and non-productive with Facebook, with Instagram, with LinkedIn, with everything in front of us, we're busier now than ever, but we're not overly productive.
Yes.
So we like and
Busy
enjoy
work.
those proactive, non-productive activities, and we stop those, we put them down when a customer walks in the door, and we're not prepared. So we're in a reactive mindset. I think
Mhm.
most of the negative gross culture you see is not because of TrueCar, is not because of Carvana. The negative gross culture is we started selling people stuff they wanted to buy that they've done a ton of research on, and we're order takers, and we're just saying, do you want fries with that?
Yes.
Instead of getting back to the art of the sale, the art of the switch, going through a proper needs analysis. What does this customer want and what do they need? There was an old study out that showed 85% of people that walked into a dealership used to buy something other than what they came in on.
Mhm.
But through a proper needs analysis, where we show that the value in this option is greater than the sales price, we're able to hold gross. And, I've got 5 stores. 3 of them do a really good job of this. One's learning how, and one is that ostrich with their head in the sand going, nope, it's Toyota. We just have to give them away. Our competitors are giving them away. And we will prove to them that very soon that that's just a mindset. Success is just a mindset.
It is just as mindset, but it's also a commitment to routinely executing at a certain level, right?
Great point.
It's not. I met someone the other day. I swear to you, Mike, had the mindset that was absolutely needed to win, but with no freaking execution.
What do you think they lacked? Was it paralysis by analysis? Did they
Yeah,
study
that's
too much?
exactly what it was. They were over analyzing every single thing that they did. I mean, really, they should have just took it straight up from Nike and just do it. Was really what was required for that particular person, right? But I
Oh,
do want to
yeah.
go a little bit into that need and analysis because there's
Yeah. Before we get
so
there,
much. Go ahead.
I just wanted to make one more point because you teed it up so beautifully. I wanted to hammer it home,
Let's do it.
especially in our business. Being a perfectionist is not a good thing.
Mm.
If you're 80%
Absolutely.
sure, if you're 80% prepared, then you're prepared. Go ahead. We'll figure it out anyway. Sun Tzu said the best laid plans do not survive first contact with the enemy. So 80% is good enough. Let's just go on green and not wait for the perfect moment. And then we can go back to needs analysis.
But no, I mean, just kind of elaborate too. I love baseball. I mean, literally the office is right down the street from the Rogers Stadium, right? So I spend a lot of time there. Next time you're up here, we're going together.
Good.
But the ball's coming at you. Right? You don't hesitate, right? You've taken enough time to train yourself, right? So that when you're at the plate, you make your move. And look, you're going to connect sometimes with that ball, and sometimes you're not going to connect. And it's the same thing with a customer. You're not going to sit there and overthink it. All right, you're going to go into it head first. You're going to connect with the customer, and there are going to be times where you may not connect with the customer. But it's you don't ever want to hold back on that. But I do want to kind of go back to that needs and analysis because I know I've been watching a lot of people kind of, I don't know, discredit the idea of needs analysis. Right now, I think needs analysis has changed over time. I mean, we still have to, in our needs analysis, respect the fact that someone has spent, 2-3 months online researching and shopping the product. But what is I know what a needs analysis looks like when me and you started selling cars, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what would you say today's needs analysis looks like?
Yeah, I've broken it up into 4 steps now.
Okay.
So we'd like to ask about 20 questions in a casual conversation. And it starts off with just really validating the customer and what they're here to do today.
I like that.
So I'm a big process guy. So step 1 for us in our road to the sales and meet and greet. Hi, welcome to Miracle Toyota. We're so happy you're here. Are you here for the big sell and promotion like everybody says? I don't want to make the same mistakes as other dealers have made in the past while selling you a car. So if you follow me, I want to honor you and respect your time and get a little bit more information how I can meet and, if possible, exceed your expectations here today. So
no, 1 second, because I just want to. Is that verbatim?
Yeah, I've got that little word track memorized.
Okay, because again, I'm actually a huge fan of the verbatim meet and greet, but then I'm getting a lot of crap for pushing a verbatim meet and greet. But that was beautiful. I mean, look, you had the statement of confidence, and a statement of the intent to want to serve that person.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't create a verbatim meet and greet, you won't consistently always get those out. We were talking about efforts and routine. Everything's about consistency. So if you're stepping up to the plate and your stance is different every single time, there's no way you're ever going to better your efforts, right? So
Absolutely.
I apologize, but I'm huge on that. I'll let you continue.
Well, no, I think you're absolutely right. There's probably thousands of listeners to this that have in the last 24 hours at work heard, "Hey, boss, they're just looking."
Oh,
The only way you can get an answer of "I'm just looking" is if you ask, "How may I help you?" "I don't need your help. I'm just looking." Oh gosh, I don't understand why that didn't work. I want to take control right away. I do like it verbatim. Now, some people will get pretty close to it and add their own flair. We do speak 7 different languages, and we've got people from 21 different countries. So if it's me going out there in Spanish, we'll probably be butchered. But nevertheless, I'm going to translate it in my head to the best of my ability. But to your point, the main purpose is to have a servant spirit, to set the expectation we're different. And with the "are you here for the big sale and promotion," build a sense of urgency. So those are those 3 main points in the meet and greet that we want to get to. But we've taken control of the customer. And every old car dog knows the old trick. If you just turn around and walk away from the customer, they'll follow you like a puppy dog. I mean, in my single life 15 years ago, it worked at the bar, at the nightclub.
Yep.
It works with customers. But when you give them such a statement with confidence and you say, "Right this way," turn around and walk towards the door, as soon as you see your reflection, you see theirs. You're just kind of the mother duck, and they'll follow you every single time.
And you know what? Again, I like that statement, but it's been criticized a lot, right?
Yeah.
Taking control of the customer, like we're trying to control or manipulate them. That's not necessarily what we're trying to do. It's if you're going in with the intent to want to serve, all right, then the idea of taking control is not self-serving. It is to actually serve the other.
Mm-hmm. And we tell them that right up front, right? To better
so
meet and
your
exceed
statement.
your expectations. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember this. It's funny you say that because the second you made that statement about just following. I remember I was a young sales manager. I had a guy come in and go, "Jason, I can't get this guy off the lot. He doesn't want to come in." I said, "Who is it?" He's like, "That person." Okay, watch this. I literally open the door from across the lot, yell as loud as I can. "Hey, you! No, not you. Yeah, you. Hey, come here for a second." And sure enough, just walked right into the dealership. I said, "Look, he's in here now. So what are you going to do?" But no. So let's talk about that. Taking control, not necessarily in the sense that we're trying to manipulate, all right, or steer from one way to the direction, but we're taking control because we have the intent to serve that person. So take it from there.
Yeah. So with that commitment to serve, what are we really wanting to do? I think that if we look at the way we're created, it'll give us a hint. The first thing is we have 1 mouth, 2 ears. So we should probably listen twice as much as we speak.
Sorry, just a second. I lost you there. The audio clipped out for a second. Please do, because I didn't want to miss it. We just do that one over again.
Yeah. So as we make a transition into the needs analysis step 2 of our sales process, I think the first thing we need to realize is just the way we were created. We're created with 2 ears and 1 mouth. And I think that's so that we listen twice as much as we speak. And if we want to serve others, to truly serve them, we need to understand what they're trying to accomplish today. What are their needs and what are their wants? And I'm a pretty process-driven guy, so I like to ask the same questions in order in my needs analysis phase. But every question has a purpose. And I like to start off with, are you the primary driver? And if not, who is? Mm-hmm. That helps me to know if we're going to make a decision today. And it also removes some of the objections you're going to hear later on when we present numbers like, "Oh, well, it's for my wife and she isn't here," or "It's for my husband and he's deployed," or whatever the situation is. The next question is, this for business or personal use? Now in my head, I'm starting to think of rebates, incentives, anything else that's going on. And then I like to ask them, do you prefer light or dark colors? Don't ever ask the customer what color car they want, because whatever color they want, we don't have.
You're screwed.
Yeah, I mean, you're never going to put toothpaste back in a tube. And at that point, that's kind of what it feels like.
Yeah.
Then the fun part of the needs analysis phase, as we've turned into a CSI conscious culture where everything we need to earn that perfect score, is I like to just say, "Can you talk to me a little bit about your trade?" And people love to talk about their trade.
Of course.
So let me ask you a question. What do you currently drive?
I drive a 2017 Nissan Maxima.
Oh, fantastic. So what are two or three things about your current Maxima that you love that your next vehicle needs to have?
All right, it's got to be the seats. I drive 8,000 kilometers a month. For our U.S. people that are listening, that's about 5,000 miles. All right. It has to be a very comfortable seat, and I definitely need all-wheel drive because up here in the winters it's tough. So I don't have that in my existing car. I want it in my new car.
Isn't that interesting? You said you want it.
Right?
So is it a want or is it a need? What we're
Mm.
trying to do as a customer starts talking about their trade is identify wants and needs. No matter what we want to sell them, if you want another Maxima or I want you to drive a Rogue home today because the sales manager said he'd give me $500 to move the oldest unit out of inventory, I just want to figure out and define your wants, things that you want your next vehicle to have, and things you need your next vehicle to have. Because no matter what I'm trying to sell you, if I can provide you with something that gives you all of the needs and all of your wants, you're going to take that deal. If I can give you something that gives you 100% of your needs and 50% of your wants, you'll probably take that deal. If I give you 50% of your needs and 100% of your wants, you're never going to drive that car off the lot.
For sure.
And people still really don't know what they want. And as you go through that process,
they have a good idea, right? I mean, look, they've done their research online. They've done their shopping online. How much time do you? I'm curious because I actually spend a fair amount of time on that. But how much time do you guys focus on kind of deep diving into their journey and understanding, what they've done up to this point?
it needs to be about 20 minutes.
Okay.
There's a great
Cool.
book called Who Stopped the Sale? And it was written by the son that created APB, Automotive Profit Builders.
Yeah.
And the customer is going to spend an hour with you. So you can either spend 20 minutes in needs analysis and 20 minutes going over features and benefits and building value, and then 10 minutes talking about price. Or you can spend 10 minutes on those other two things and 40 minutes talking about price. But they're going to commit an hour of their time to you.
Yep.
So it's a little bit just wearing them down. But truly, I don't want to skip over the fact that I really do believe people don't know what they want, because someone will do all the research in the world and tell me all the 13 airbags on the new Camry and how great the XSE blah, blah, blah. Fantastic. When we start talking about wants and needs and their family size and their driving habits and their MPG, and then they start, did you ask them about pets? You go, wow, so it's a husband and wife with 2 kids. I can see why they'd want a Camry. Oh, you got 2 golden retrievers? Okay. And your sister's son spends the summers with you?
Yep.
My goodness gracious. Next thing you go and you're like, you don't need a Camry, you need a RAV4. Now the customer's done no research on the RAV4 and you have a higher probability of holding gross because they don't have true car and a stack of paper this thick about what KBB says they need to pay for their car. So we're able to make a profit and they have more of their wants and all of their needs met. And truly, I wish there was a website, maybe that we should create one, where the customer starts with not what car they want, but what do they need and what do they want. It's incredible to me how many people come in and really sit there and say, well, I really want a 4Runner. Why? And they say, well, I got a tow, I got this, I got that, it looks cool, it's rugged. Fantastic. What do you want to be a month? I want to be at $650 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I got to lose $1,000 to get to that deal. And then as you talk to them more, all-wheel drive, because they're in Florida, doesn't matter to them. And what really matters to them is Bluetooth, satellite radio, connectivity, blind spot monitoring, adaptive cruise control. And when they're all done with all that, you go, well, the 4Runner doesn't have that equipment.
Nope, not at all.
We should be looking at a Highlander.
Actually, still, just a side note, it is 2020. That is a little crazy.
Yeah, well, there's a great story on what happened. With the previous administration, President Obama had pretty aggressive CAFE standards for auto makers in the United States. So Toyota was going to kill the 4Runner. They put no money behind R&D.
Mm-hmm.
It still doesn't have a power rear gate. And they're like, we'll sell this thing for 1 or 2 more years. And when Hillary wins, you're going to have the continuation of the same policy. Well, obviously that didn't happen. And President Trump takes over and he goes, CAFE standards are more like a recommendation. It's not a federal law. And now they're scrambling and they have a car that hasn't changed in 4 years. and they're getting beat by the competition. I think the Armada is a significantly better vehicle than the 4Runner. They're about the same money. So
but you know what? There's you still have those diehard fans, right? So
my wife's one of them.
right? Like you just
I keep telling her how great Armada is. She goes, "Great, I want another 4Runner."
Yeah, you can have another 4Runner. You know, I'm curious what your thoughts are then on digital retailing.
Digital retailing is not a thing of the future; it's a thing of the present.
I agree.
Now, there's three things that we'll never be able to do digitally, in my opinion. We'll never be able to accurately evaluate a trade. Thank God.
True.
Truly. Thank goodness there's a trade.
That's
what keeps our industry from being regulated. It's subjective. Just like you can't really tell me what a Rembrandt's worth, you really can't tell me what a 67 Shelby's worth. Thank goodness we've got that piece of the business. And two, everyone really tries to say that the consumer doesn't need to drive their next purchase, especially if they're going from a 4-year-old Camry to a 1-year-old Camry. Just drop it off in the driveway and they'll be happy. Studies, at least that I've read, have shown there's a significant amount of buyer's remorse. Well, I think
there's a small percentage of people out there that are willing to make that entire transaction, right? I mean, I look at kind of digital retailing as the consumer wanting to just speed up the process. You know, so let me on my own at home do the first 3 or 4 steps, and then when I come into the dealership, can we pick it up from step 5, and we can, instead of this being a 3.5-hour process, we can make this an hour and 40-minute process. Boy,
I mean, you served me up a softball there, because it's almost like we prepped with each other and we haven't. Right? All the listeners know this is just a normal conversation. One of my, if not my best process and differentiator, is what we call the Miracle Experience. Miracle Toyota, the Miracle Experience is an online buying process where we want to engage the customer, not just to set an appointment like the Traver systems and everybody teaches use the purpose of the BDC. Instead, we have internet managers sitting in between our desk managers that answer leads. And their job, after we land you on a car, is to get your vehicle appraised by our website tool. That's just a third-party black book app that's built into the website. Then we want them to do a credit app. And if you do those 3 steps, you qualify for the Miracle Experience, which means when you come in on your time, set it for your online sales appointment, and you show up, we give you a stopwatch. And in 59 minutes or less, the sales associate's job is to have you drive the car, the vehicles.
You physically give them a stopwatch.
Yep. Yeah, it's tied around the manager's neck.
Kind of like, it's there?
Yeah, and it's branded all over the place. It's the express pricing.
Cool.
And it's not to sell them a car in 59 minutes or less. The message is to give them all their buying information they need in 59 minutes or less.
Look, it's a statement of confidence, right? I'm so confident in my team. I'm so confident in my abilities as a salesperson, right, that I can achieve this in this amount of time. Let's go. I love it.
There's a psychology side behind it too that's pretty beneficial for the dealership, in the sense that the customer starts to think, man, all they hear is I'm going to buy a car in an hour. Even though we're blatantly honest, fully transparent, saying we're going to give you all the information you need to make a buying decision in 59 minutes or less. So they come in on the lot, the meet and greet, the needs analysis, all those steps are done. So it's, hey, my name is Mike Murphy, your internet manager here at Miracle Toyota. This is Matt Forenza, the sales associate. He's going to take you for a drive in the car that we picked out online. If you can hand me your keys now, I'm going to make sure my used car manager appraises it. My general sales manager is going to work you up a fantastic deal. I know we've agreed to a sales price, but we want to get you specific payment and finance options. Then they come back in after that drive, and we've given them all the information. We've reviewed our pencil, and they're going, I have only 20 minutes left to make a decision. So they don't want to go back and forth and negotiate the same way traditional consumers will, where you average 4 or 5 pencils. When they come in on the internet process and the Miracle Experience, we'll get to a second pencil. But the word tracks are, we've already greatly discounted our vehicles online. So there's hundreds of dollars to move on this car, but there's not thousands of dollars to move on this car. So you end up with higher CSI, better gross. And then they still have to go through, for us at that location, an insurance process, because I own my own Allstate branch inside the dealership. And then they move into finance, and then they get their menu presentation on their investment options on how to protect their purchase, also known as selling products.
But you know what? At the end of the day, it all comes down to process, right? And
Absolutely.
I think as an owner, that's our responsibility. It's like, look, I had a small Mitsubishi dealership. Okay, Mitsubishi, like It's a challenge, right? It's a
Mhm.
used car dealership, the flag out front. All right, I was a 2-to-1 ratio between used and new. But you know what? I knew that I was going to have to close at 45% if I was even going to make money. Like there was just so there wasn't for me. It wasn't even a matter of like, is there another option? It's like, no, this had to happen. But it was through process, commitment, and routine to process, and constantly measure. I find processes, they have to be documented, and they have to be measurable, right? If those two things don't exist, then it's not a process. It's just a good idea.
Yeah. And then I think the difference between a meeting and a conversation is documentation.
Yep.
And the difference between training and a conversation is documentation. And the way people learn, we have to tell them what we're going to train them on what we're training them on, then tell them what we just trained them on. And you might have a shot that they'll retain that at that point.
100%. I'm curious, kind of going into this. I know you guys make this big commitment to people. I've seen it in a couple of your posts before where you've talked about your people. Being a family-owned business, it seems like that's a big one for you. Your approach to coaching as a group, what is your guys' approach to coaching?
So it gets back to servant leadership, but I call it the sustainable growth wheel. And what that is it starts with individual forecasts. We sit down, we do one-on-ones with each sales associate, service writer, and technician, and ask them how much money they want to make next week, next month, next year. We really focus on the month, but towards the end of the month, when we're trying to hit our number, we want to know what's your goal just next week.
Yep.
And when we do that, and let's just say, Zach says he's going to sell us 10 cars. We have a commitment from you, Zach, to sell 10 cars? Yes. Then we go ahead and we use a baseball kind of analogy of Moneyball. But I have a closed sales floor. So we have an up rotation. We have greeters. And everyone gets about the same number of touches. The better you are, the lineup starts over every day. So if you're batting leadoff, you're batting leadoff every day. And we start looking at the analytics. So 2 weeks into the month, after that first individual forecast meeting, we're looking at the analytics. Zach, you've been in front of 40 customers. We expect 90% of those to drive the car, which is 36. You're at 32. Let's train you right there on how to improve your demo rate.
That little spot right there. We coach on that little spot. Yeah.
And then if let's just say their demo rate's good, then we'll move on to their worksheet percentage. What percent of the time does somebody drive a car and then want to see numbers? We believe that's 90% of the time too. So if 100 people walk in our door, 90 drive the car, 0.9 times 0.9 is 81. We expect 80 people to see a worksheet. If they're below 80, then we try to figure out why is that occurring. Are we skipping the features and benefits through the vehicle presentation? It usually comes down to a poor needs analysis and a poor selection.
You're coaching on the efforts. I think as an industry, we focus so much on the results. Like in fact, I mean, when I'm in meetings, 80% of the meeting is made up talking about results. Ironically, results that have already happened. I've always been dumbfounded by that, right? Like how much time we talk about and focus on shit that's already like over, done, it happened. Right? It's like,
yeah, man. Related back to professional sports. Imagine the day after a football game. It's the NFL, it's the CFL, and everybody gets in the room to watch film, and they put up the final score, and then everybody leaves.
Yeah,
that doesn't make you much better. You actually have to watch the game film. That's that effort.
You have to go through the efforts. It's not just the results, right? I mean, the results are the results. You lost the game. Okay. Now let's deep dive into the efforts. The efforts are what's going to get the results. But for some reason, we're just such a result-oriented industry that we're just talking more about that, not necessarily talking about these micro elements, all these efforts, these 15 little elements that are required to get us to the results that we ultimately want to get to.
Yeah, well, I think it's part of our culture as North Americans, right? We have this instant gratification culture that was probably perfected in America, but it is very prevalent in Canada now too, where we don't want stuff now. We want stuff right now.
Right now.
So in medicine, right, we're looking for the weight loss pill that we can still eat like crap, but take this magic pill and lose weight.
Yeah.
Because we're always worried about the results instead of looking at the cause and not the effect. Well, the reason I want to lose 5 pounds is because of what I'm putting in my body, right? So we always have to get back to the effort or the cause and not the effect. And I think Western medicine here in the United States, we just treat what's the problem instead of what's causing the problem. oh man, this guy's blood sugar's too high. Let's give him metformin for diabetes instead of, how about he puts down the Coke and Snickers?
Sounds like a better
So
idea.
bring that right back to the sales associate. We work so hard to get our customers in the door. They're not the sales manager's customers. They're not the sales associate's customers. They're the owner's customers. So when they're my customers, I expect a certain closing percentage, and I expect my steps to be followed because I love my people. I believe in my people. I recruit my people. I've got fraternity brothers, family, everything under the sun that I've coached and trained and managed and developed. Some of them have lived with me, slept on my couch. But I got to tell you something. I love my process like this much more.
Yep.
And it's got to be
I'm with you.
process over people. People are going to lie to you. People are going to deceive you. People are going to cheat on you. But a process will never do any of those things.
You know what? I had this, my very first job, I worked at a Radio Shack. And I was 15 years old. And there was a manager there. And he always said this thing, and it stuck with me. I mean, literally, my entire professional career stuck with me. And I don't know who originally said it, so I have no idea where he got it from, right? But you don't manage people. You manage the process. You let the process manage the people.
Oh, wow. Well said.
Man, that just, I don't know. That is just, I think it's actually, I can actually go back and say that's probably one of the keys to my success over the years is that fundamental understanding. It's that I'm not managing people, I'm managing the process, letting the process manage the people.
That's very well said. You know, we have a little Murphyism that's very similar to yours. And
Murphyism, I love it. That's awesome.
that's just what people call my clever cliches. But this Murphyism is pretty strong, right? So we manage things, we coach people.
Oh, I like that.
If we think of who has had a positive impact in our life, it's a mother, father, sister, brother.
Mm-hmm.
It's a school teacher. It was an athletic coach. But a manager's never on that list. Well, I had this manager once at Subway that really told me to believe in myself and become a good sandwich artist or whatever their titles are. You know, for our listeners, a great way to get this message over to your entire team costs about $10. Go to Amazon and just get whistles and give every manager a whistle and remind them that they coach their people. They manage things. You manage policies, processes, procedures, inventories. But we coach our people. And for me, the definition of coaching is finding out people's strengths and weaknesses, putting them in positions to maximize their strengths and protect them from their own weaknesses.
That's awesome, Mike. In fact, I love the whistle thing. I mean, we had some really golden nuggets in this podcast today, and I know we're getting close to the end of our time. But man, if you take any one away, if you're out there and you're listening and watching to this right now, I think the visual of going out and buying your managers whistles and literally having them wear that whistle as a symbol or a reminder that they are a coach first, manager second, you know, that little tiny thing could fundamentally just change your operations, and I think in a huge way.
Yeah. Now, if we could just sell those whistles and split the profit, we got ourselves.
Can we brand them?
Team.
We can put your name on one side. I'll put mine on. Can we
I
make
love
them
it.
orange? Can we do orange?
I think orange would be strong. You know, as a Miami guy, we could sprinkle a little green in there. That wouldn't be too bad.
There we go. There we go. Right? Hey, Mike, thank you so much, man, for taking the time today to jam with me. This has been a lot of fun.
Well, I appreciate it. I think if I can just leave your audience with one last Murphyism,
please,
especially in the car business, this is profound. I don't know who originally said it. Coach Manny Diaz made it very popular around South Florida. It's simple. You encourage what you tolerate.
I like that.
But you get what you demand. You encourage what you tolerate, and you get what you demand.
That's very cool.
Be an unrealistic friend.
I think we've actually defined now the ad copy to go at the top of this podcast. Thank you, sir. Hey, Mike, for everyone who's listening, watching, and would love to follow along with your journey and your family's journey and this amazing business that you guys have built, the journey, what's the best way to connect with you guys?
Yeah, well, it's definitely not email, websites, phone calls. You know, as most millennials, we don't pay attention to anything of that. The best thing to do, I'm a huge fan of Instagram. I'm at Real Mike Murphy, at Real Mike Murphy. I put a ton of content on there. I got some good webinars, web series, other content. I try to keep a little bit of the car business in there, but really more branding, just positive servant leadership stuff. DM me through Instagram, and I'm more than happy. I would consider it a privilege to answer automotive specific questions for guys like me and you out there.
Dude, thank you for allowing yourself to be open to that, and just your commitment to wanting to help others is just absolutely amazing. Mike, again, thank you so much for taking the time to jam with me today. This has been a lot of fun.
Well, absolutely. I appreciate it. The best way to learn is to teach. So teaching others is a great way to learn. And it's really a selfish act. The more you teach, the more you learn. And I would encourage more people to be mentors to others.
Me too. Thanks again, Mike. You have yourself a good one. I'll talk to you later.
Awesome, man. You rock. Appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks.